Goedemorgen. Laten we beginnen met het gebed. Liefdevolle God, we danken u voor deze bijeenkomst. Het loopt een beetje anders dan normaal. We missen een aantal mensen vanwege ziekte en andere redenen. We vragen u, Heer, dat ook al zijn we met een kleine groep, toch nog een goede tijd mogen hebben samen. Wilt u het zegenen? Wilt u ons wijsheid geven? En dat we ook nieuwe inzichten mogen verkrijgen. Wilt u bij de kinderen zijn, Heer, die ook hun eigen programma hebben? Hier in ieder geval zichzelf een beetje moeten bezighouden. Dat het ook goed mag gaan. En dat we enigszins ongestoord toch ook nog een zegen mogen ontvangen van u. Dat vragen we in Jezus' naam. Amen.
Amen.
Oké. Nou, volgens mij zijn we de laatste keer geëindigd met... even kijken hoor, wat was het? We hadden het... de rise and fall of nations.
Nee, dat gaan we niet doen.
Even kijken hoor. De laatste keer hebben we dat...
Oh, nu komt het.
Dit was de... Oh, sorry. Is het beeld vertraagd?
Ja, het is, nu staat het er.
Oh, ja, ik zie het ook niet pas.
Oh,
Huh? Ik ben alweer
de
versprongen.
connectie niet goed.
Ik ben versprongen naar een ander... Oh, nu is die helemaal weg.
Wat dan?
Schermuitzending, live-uitzending naar Zoom is gestopt.
Misschien kan je even kijken of je hier een andere wifi gebruikt. Nu kun je wel de OG-TP-link.
Oh, hij staat nog van op boven.
Ja, dat is niet goed.
Dat is niet goed. TP-link. Dat is die van in de stoebe. Ik wil die cached.
Ik heb die
TP-link?
1844.
Ja, die zoek ik. Die komt niet bij mij.
Even uit en aanzetten.
Die TP-link is hier ook niet heel sterk. Ah, kijk, daar is het. Maar niet de guest. Ik had altijd de guest. Dan maar die.
Ben je dan niet ingelogd of wel?
Oh, hier, de guest. Die. Daar heb ik. Oké, nou, lekker begin. En dan moet ik weer naar Zoom. Oh ja, ik ben zo verbonden. Oh, ik had... Waar staat deze dan? Ja, nog een keer delen, scherm, start. Oké, nog een keer proberen. Gezellig. Rise and Fall of Nations. Waar hebben we het over gehad? The rise and fall of nations is done through the democratic process. So first you have the rise and fall through war and coups and killing. And 6 is a different kingdom. It is a democratic kingdom where the people are supposed to rule. So we've said all those nations, they rise and they fall in the same way. So also the 6th kingdom will rise and fall in the same way. So it will come to its end through a democratic process, which means that the 7th rises through this same process. Prophecy shows the rise and fall of nations. It's a power struggle. I think this is where we ended, is where, how do we actually come to the conclusion that the 6th and the 7th change, how do you say that? That it goes from the 6th to the 7th at the Sunday law. I think that's what we discussed or talked about, and we said the Sunday law, like the literal Sunday law as we know it from Ellen White, was something, this law meant the speaking of the nation. So the speaking, I don't think it's here, but the speaking was the legislative and judicial power of the nation. So a nation speaks through its legislative and judicial authorities. So we said this Sunday law, this literal law, is going to be the speaking. So you have a lamb-like beast, and then it speaks as a dragon. And that literal Sunday law would be the speaking of a dragon. Well, we know we're not talking about a law anymore. We're not talking about Sunday anymore. But the speaking has been pointed at the Waymark Sunday law. So I think that's where we got that from. So the rise and fall of nations. There's a power struggle. Seen in Daniel 2, 7, 8, and 11. And at least in Revelation 13 and 17. If you go to Daniel 2, for example, no, what is it, Daniel 5? About the men 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗃, is that Daniel 5? Daniel 5 is, well, where Cyrus kills Belshazzar. Well, it's not literally in the story, but we know that Cyrus takes Babylon in 538 BC. And I think what we know from history, no, before,
Jij hebt gedaan.
yeah, I pressed the button. That's annoying.
Het alleen weer delen. Maakt niet uit.
Nee, het is niet erg, maar het is annoying. Maybe I should do it like this. So. So in 538, we have Cyrus that kills Belshazzar, takes over the control of Babylon, and it marks the beginning of the Medes and the Persians. Then in 331 BC, we have Alexander the Great, in the battle. No, the battle of, well, I actually looked it up earlier today. The battle of, there's two names for the same battle. What was it? Oh, it was here. Anyway.
Battle of Arbela or
Arbela, yeah, there's two, Arbela or 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, zoiets. Arbela, okay. So this is the turning point, and after that, Alexander also goes to Babylon to take Babylon. So what we know from, for example, Daniel, is that as soon as Cyrus takes over Babylon, that the civil servants, or in Dutch we would say de ambtenaren, they just stay in office. So it's only a change of leadership on the highest level. And maybe there's some new people here and there, but basically the people that were faithful to first Belshazzar are just taken in. The ambtenaren, the civil servants, are included in the new form of government. And that's also true for Alexander the Great. Takes control of new territories, but also for a great deal just takes how do you say that? Uses the organization that was already there. So I found that interesting to see, is that the system that exists continues to be there. So the Greek don't invent everything anew. They just take things from Babylon, they take things from Medo-Persia, everything, all the good things from Babylon, all the good things from Medo-Persia, they just flow with, they just, how do you say that? They are continued through the next, in the next kingdoms. And I thought that was interesting also in regard to the sixth to the seventh kingdom. The seventh kingdom uses the old system to be in power. So it's not going to invent something completely new. The only invention that was completely new was the lamb-like beast. That was the only new thing. So how do I write this down? So I say civil servants continue. From Babylon to Medo-Persia to Greece, etc., into Rome. I haven't looked up Rome in this regard, but I'm sure that's true as well. But I'll dig into that later. So you have organization 1 goes over into organization 2, organization 3, organization 4, and 5. They all are a continuation of the same thing. They are, how do you say that? Yeah, they're basically a continuation of the same thing, but leadership is changed. So we go from Babylon to Medo-Persia to Greece, for example. Civil servants continue to be there. The good things from Babylon and the good things from Persia, go on in time into Greece, into Rome. And it tells you something about this 6, because the 6 is something different. It tries to be not as its forefathers, so to speak. It doesn't take the organization and the structure and the form of government, even civil servants. It's a completely different entity. It's on the other side of the ocean, so it's not a continuation of an old thing. It's set up anew. So I would say the 6th is different than the 5 previous kingdoms. And then we go on to the 7th, and the 7th is one of the 7. The 7th is one of the previous. So I would argue that we say that the 5th is the 7th. Because 7 is also called Babylon. So it is the 5th. But it's also the 1st, because it's called Babylon. and therefore it is called the eighth. So the 7 is the fifth. The fifth. No, I should actually do that. Write that down a little different, because the fifth is not the first, but the seventh is the fifth, and the seventh is also called the first. In chapter 17, it's called Babylon, and the first is the eighth. The eighth is a symbol for resurrection. So resurrection here is symbolized by the resurrection of the fifth, or the resurrection of the combination of those kingdoms. The fifth is basically the ultimate form, the ultimate representation of those kingdoms. It is a dreadful beast. It goes from a lion to a bear to a leopard to this awful, dreadful animal, for example. It's the ultimate representation of this old system. And the sixth system, so I would say old system. The sixth tries to be the new system. And as soon as we go into the seventh, we enter into the old system again.
Mm.
It's a resurrection of that old system. But that old system had its power struggles, but they always used the organization or the form of organization of the previous kingdom. It never completely destroyed it and set up something completely new. And that tells us something about the seventh. The seventh is going to use the system of the sixth as well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the old system and the new system, we can see them both in the seventh kingdom.
Yes, I would say so. Or at least, yeah, good question. Well, that's actually a good question. Maybe it's the wrong way to say, because it actually uses the new system. So the seventh kingdom is actually working according to the new system. But I guess it's going to reintroduce some.
It has the principles from the old system.
Yeah, it's going to reintroduce the principles of the old system. So maybe I should say it that way. So it's going to reintroduce, what did I say? Reintroduce elements of the old system.
Maybe it's also good to describe what's the new system look like. Is it only democracy, or is it more than that?
Well, how I described it here was ambtenarij. So you have, actually, that's a Dutch word, but civil servants. No. Civil servants. So basically, Cyrus takes over and then just takes control. Maybe there's one general here and a minister there and some high chief here and there. But Daniel was just able to stay. was allowed to stay in the office, do his work, and I guess many others as well, as long as you didn't rebel against the new leaders. You were allowed to continue your job. So basically, the culture of the system was continued, and here and there changed. So when Greek takes over Medo-Persia, it starts to introduce some Greek form of government, Greek culture, Greek thinking, Greek wisdom into the old organization of the Medes and the Persians. And when the Romans come, they introduce their Roman culture and their Roman thinking into the Greek in the old system of the Greek. So they always bring something new, they keep something that is good. And I think the sixth, yeah, I say new system. So it's good to talk about this, but so I say new system. That doesn't mean that they don't take anything from, I guess there's good things from the Romans and the Greek and the Babylonians that we have taken over, even the sixth.
Because democracy is not invented in the Sixth Kingdom. It was already in some form or shape seen already before Babylon,
Before Babylon,
or not? Or what was it? No,
I would say
the Greek maybe.
I thought the Romans, the first republic, I think, what we call is the Roman Republic. So before Caesar, I mean, Caesar changes it into a dictatorship, into an empire, or yeah. But before that, it was a republic. So you could argue that
In Athens, the democracy, this is 500 for Christ. It's a form of democracy in old Athens.
so it's in Athene, in Athens.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess it is. No, it's not. It's not new. So democracy not necessarily isn't
But only
the new element.
there
But
were
I think the
already
way
people
it has been introduced, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, that everybody is equal under the law, those, I think, things that came out of the French Revolution, basically equality, although it wasn't there yet for everybody. I think it marked the beginning of an era of equality. That's what the sixth at least was supposed to do. But no, good questions, because it's good to challenge the thought. But yeah, you could even argue that, I mean, America, just the beginning of America is, of course, it comes from the British. So it's and the British are European, which is part of the fifth, basically.
To think of the difference between Roman law and English law. You know, in Rome, you had to prove that you're innocent. And
Has it always been that way?
I think so. And in English law, you had to prove that you're guilty.
But that's English.
Yeah.
Or is that English law? That is after the Enlightenment, right? Prove your guilt.
Yeah.
So you're saying the Enlightenment of the
Yeah, was the Enlightenment a reason that?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I could imagine.
I'm not sure, but we could check that. Um, so no, but I just want to make sure if my point is valid. So what I tried to do is say, we say, here we said, oh, that was in the previous notes. But we say, this, how did we say that? In this time, kingdoms rise and fall through democratic process.
It's a mechanism.
That's just the mechanism how it works today. Today, through democratic process. And I wanted to give a proof of that, to say the first and the second and the third and the fifth and the first, second, third, fourth, fifth kingdoms also followed up each other and used the old system to either
Conquering and war. Is that what you mean by system?
No, yeah, maybe it's then not the right way to say, because yes, it went through war, but what I actually meant here is the civil servants. So Cyrus takes over, but he doesn't take over through the civil servants or through the ambtenarij or something. It's just war. Wait, so you have Belshazzar, then Cyrus comes, then you have, at the end of Cyrus, you have, I think it was, who was his name? The third? Forgot. Oh, I forgot his name. The one that Alexander the Great, and then you have Alexander the Great. Defeats this the third. No. Forget his name. And then after Alexander the Great, at the end, you have a Greek who is fighting the Battle of Actium. Then we have, what's his name at the Battle of Actium? There's two. You have
General, whatever.
no, you have the grape-eating woman,
𝗂𝗶𝗃𝗲
and the two guys.
The Antonius, Marcus Antonius
And
und der Caesar.
that's
Nicht?
no, was
Julius
it?
Caesar.
The third is Darius, of course. Belshazzar, Cyrus, Darius.
Darius is there.
Darius, sorry.
Alexander the Great, and then we have well, let's say Cleopatra.
Oh.
And then we have who was that?
Octavianus.
Octavian. Ah, yeah.
Octavian.
Okay, well, then I'll say Rome for the sake of the time. So it's not, they don't, are they using the system to rise into power? No, they use war to rise into power. Basically, it's always a battle. Belshazzar is killed by Cyrus. Darius III is defeated by Alexander the Great in a battle. Cleopatra is destroyed and killed in a battle. And Rome is perhaps the front. Well, prophecy says that Rome kills with a sword and will be killed with a sword, so. Is that so my question to you is, it's not the same, right? To say the sixth is a democratic system, so the seventh needs to use that old or the democratic process to get into power. It's not valid to say, and you can also see that here with the, oh, what is that? Oh, this one. So here, going from the first to the second to the third to the fourth to the fifth, to get into power is not through the old system. Could you argue they use the old system, or they use the previous system, so the second Medo-Persians use the first system to get into power? Can we say that? The Medes and the Persians use the Babylonian system to get in power?
To get in power. The Babylonian system.
Is that something we could? Or you could say the Babylonians get in power by war, so the Babylonians will lose their power by war, by killing. The Medes and Persians get into power by war and killing. Therefore, the Medes and Persians will fall by war and killing. And the Bible says that about the fifth.
So then it has to be for the others.
So I would say that's also true for these. And I think we can argue that it is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should look at those exact dates to have a little bit
Because
more
that was
detail.
exactly a question that I had when I think
Still.
Parmin presented it. I think, I don't know when, like the fifth goes, comes up by war, but or kills with the sword and is killed by the sword. But the sixth doesn't rise because of the sword, is it? Because it rises through democratic processes. So how is that when all the others kind of follow up and are doing it exactly the same? And why should then the seventh come up through a democratic process?
Well, the difference of the sixth is that it's because it's the land beast, so it's on the other side of the ocean. It's not connected to.
Yeah,
geographically, it's completely different. So it's not a follow-up. It's not that in the literal world, America is not a follow-up of the European nations, because the European nations just continue to exist, and just something completely new starts at the other side of the ocean.
So what's the proof that the seventh just continues from the sixth?
Because we understand that the seventh is also the United States. The seventh stays on the other side of the ocean.
And we understand that because it's the same, because it was first like a lamb and then becomes a dragon. Is that the proof? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's one of them. Yeah. So you have here, this is the old world, and this is the new world.
Yeah, I understand. So I'm just looking for proof that that it stays there, that it's not China. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. Okay. So the question is why.
If the fifth can end by the sword and the sixth can rise through democracy and dies through democracy, then the seventh does not need to rise through democracy, because the sixth rises through something else, then the fifth is going down by.
Yes. I understand. And my answer is, I would say, because this is both the USA, and just as this is the old world. Yeah, and that's a good question. So how do we prove that the sixth is, or sorry, that the seventh is the United States?
Is that just because it needs to be the land beast still? There's not a beast after that? Or is it, I'm just thinking loud.
I'm thinking as well. So then you need to go, because what is the seventh? The seventh is a beast speaking as a dragon. So that's what we've been doing at ICM. It's like, how do you prove? Let me think. I'm thinking out loud as well. So then you would go to Revelations. Oh, you would go to Revelation 17. It's like, okay, what is a beast? Because the seventh beast is, what is a head? And what is a woman? And based on those definitions, we need to yeah, we talked about this last time as well. Why is the seventh the United States and not, not China, whatever? Let me think. Because this whole element of that organizations are divided, it started with the Midnight Cry. So Elder Tess introduced the Midnight Cry, and she says there's two streams, and they influence the world. So every organization, USA, you have the papacy, even the movement back in that day. But every organization is divided in two. You have two streams. For the USA, the papacy, the movement back in that day, every organization has two streams, is divided. You could argue, is lamb-like or dragon-speaking. So I'm not saying that that is a proof, but this has been developing over the last 8 years, since 2018, that we see these two streams, or those two on the spectrum of politics. I could argue politics here. Is all divided into those two streams of information, or they drink the water, or they drink the stream of information of one source, which divides the USA, which divides the papacy, which divides the movement, everything. I don't think this is a proof, but I'm just going through the process of how we got there. And I think this marks the origin of that thought that the United States is divided into a good part and a bad part. And I think that has been developed by several speakers. I think 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗲𝗏 also did a good job in bringing some sources, some secular sources, where if you look at the USA, you have, what is it? A republic and a democracy. They're two parts of the same. One is fighting for law. I'm not sure if and this is fighting for freedom. From one came the Constitution. From the other one came the war against the British or the American Revolution.
Rebellion.
American Revolution, rebellion. The rebellion has always been part of America. The American Revolution against the British. It was a fight for freedom, and they wanted to set up a republic where they could govern over themselves. So that's one part of America. But the other one is protect minorities, protect the people. So that is democracy, that is law, that is, what did I write there? What's this? Constitution, perhaps. Constitution. Organization, etc. And that has been developing over the last 200 and some years. And this element, the element of rebellion and the fight for freedom is being, how do you say?
Mhm.
Being
Agitated.
oh yes, agitated or ignited. Yeah, is agitated. And I think that is also the two streams. So this is what 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 has said. This is the dragon, and this is the lamb. That doesn't mean that the dragon was the dragon all the time and that the seventh kingdom was there in 1798. You could argue that in some way that the dragon has always been. I think that this story of 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 is in a way true, but you can't say that the seventh kingdom ruled already in 1798. And I think that's where many people are kind of confused when we talk about the seventh kingdom.
Is it not seen in the two political parties?
Today, you could argue, yes, this element, this top element is more. This one here is more represented by the Republican Party, and yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, and this one is perhaps mostly represented by the Democratic Party. But I think that has been flipped over time several times. It's not always been the Republican Party or always been the Democratic Party. But yes, you could argue that.
Because when you talk about two streams of information, I can remember that Tess brought us all the way down to 1798, and then took out the elections that always two opposite parties were striving for power.
Yeah, and yeah, you have the two-party system.
And then you said that you saw also that this conspiracy theories came in so early already.
True. No, yeah. So and that was all part of this dragon part of the United States. So I don't think we necessarily deny that what Elder Terry has introduced and what Elder Tess introduced. But at the same time, I don't think we can say the seventh kingdom started there or something. We've been able to see that it's a lamb-like beast, and that there is that the dragon has been around. But the rebellion and this fight for freedom is really now personalized in Trump. So yeah, I don't know if that is a proof. Like, why is the seventh kingdom? I think Revelation 13 is a good reference. So you have the lamb-like beast that speaks like a dragon. Yeah.
Ik het niet.
Yeah, there you can see the two streams.
So you
Mm,
would then say because there is two streams in America, and the lamb and the dragon are two streams, that's your proof for America being the seventh.
yeah, that's what I've now said. So that has been my logic for today. That the USA has been divided, and it has actually always been divided. That the Republic, the fight for freedom, the rebellion part of America, and you have the protecting the democracy, constitution, organization part of America. And they should be together. They can be together. And that should work. But if the rebellion gets the overhand, hoe zeg je dat?
Longer
If when the rebellion gets stronger,
powers.
overpowers the organization or the constitution, then yeah, that's worthless then. Then law and democracy and constitution are worthless, and then you only have rebellion left. But then it speaks as a dragon. I mean, this twofold element you see in Revelation 13, it's one beast and it does two things. It is, how did Elder Tess say it? And you have this quote from Ellen White where she says, the two horns show what's the words? What Ellen White uses? It is how America is.
Too great.
No, but it's more how America wants to be seen. It's
A beacon.
no, but I'm looking for a word. It portrays to be something. It is.
Ports.
No, there's this word. Ellen White uses a word.
Acts as if.
Lamb-like bee. So the lamb shows what it's outwardly believes, or no, it's not believe. Profess, that's the word. What it professes. So the lamb-like part of America is the one that it professes to be. It professes to be this democracy, protecting of minorities. It has this strong constitution. It is organized. That is his profession. But the lamb-like beast or the dragon is actually its actions and what the contrary actions of what it actually professes. So maybe I'm going to. This is profession, and this is its actions, perhaps. Is that the right way? And at some point they are just contrary. And at some point, I think even, and I think we've reached that point with Trump, or we're going to reach that point where Trump not even professes to be a lamb anymore. There's not a profession of democracy or law, just the profession is, I guess, is going to change at some point, and then you don't talk about the sixth kingdom anymore. So I don't know. Is that proof enough? Is that enough proof for you?
To think about it.
Yeah. So what is the question we try to answer here? You asked, because I didn't write that down.
Yeah, it would be good to summarize it.
Can I do this?
I do think that
That we
I
did?
don't think it's a full proof, but I do think that Revelation 13, with the 5 being the 5 being kind of in the beast out of the sea, and then he sees another beast coming up out of the earth, and then we know that there are 7. Then you know that the first 5 are kind of together, and then the 6th and the 7th are kind of together in that last beast, because you know that the first beast is until the 5th. Kind of. So that would be, it's not a proof, but it's kind of logic or something.
Yeah, that's how it feels to me as well. Yeah, this is only what I did here is only if I go back in time, like how did we get to this point? It was not just it's not just one study that showed, oh, actually America is also the 7th. It has been a development, it has been a growing understanding that first of all, the papacy is not part of prophecy anymore, because who else? Then you should prove why it is China.
We used to say the UN.
We used to say the United Nations. We used to say no, yeah, or papacy. Well, the so we've been showing that the papacy is not part of prophecy any longer. Um, so it's
We
not
used to
just
say, of course, that there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. So 1 is, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. So that's the 5th is the 8th. And this of the 7, and goes into, and the 10 horns which I saw are 10 kings which has received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Didn't we say then? Did we say the 6th is the UN or America before? I don't know.
no, America is 6 was always America, the lamb-like beast.
It was America.
America,
And-
the United
And the
Nations.
7th is then the America with the UN, we said before.
At the head.
Yes, I
They
think
were
that,
all influenced by the papacy. That's what we said, didn't we?
yeah, something like that. Or maybe first, no, I think first we would say the papacy is going to influence the world, is going to influence the Nations. That's kind of like standard conspiritual Seventh-day Adventism, where they all look to the papacy because the papacy is going to control
Mm-hmm.
the United Nations. Then we came to understanding that no, well, it's actually not the United Nations, it is actually America that is going to lead out in it. So it's we I think there's one thing like the 10 tribes. So you had this kingdom of the 10 tribes, and there was only one that was the king, that was Samaria. So you have Samaria, the city of Samaria, and what was it, Ephraim? There was one king over the 10 kings. And you also have the 10 kings here in Revelation 17. So there's actually one king that rules the 10 kings. So this element of America actually being in control of the United Nations, or is actually America. So I think there was a time period where we said it's America with the United States, and now we're just saying, oh, sorry, with the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're just saying it's America. And I think that has been,
Because we said the 10 kings were the UN, didn't we?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
And that also had to do with X-27 because we saw a nation made up of every tribe. What do we do with that then?
What are the 10 kings now?
Well, and I think there is still a truth to it in some way, because in the end, we still believe that America is going to be leading out also unipolarly or unilateral in the
Mhm.
world.
And
Um,
in the UN come.
So what are the 10 kings now, Mark asked? Is that just the whole world? Wandering after the kind of...
because I'm not sure actually. I don't know. So I would, sorry?
It still sounds okay to call the United Nations still the 10 kings.
I don't know if the 10 kings, I would have to,
That's probably something that needs to be redefined, and that's not something for one.
no, that's not something for
now.
now,
For
I think.
presentation.
No.
But it is a good question.
No, yeah, it is a good question. I think that needs to be still found out. I think that is the 10 kings, I think, in my mind at the moment, is something of the next dispensation. Because they are going to play a role when the worldwide Sunday law is going to be there. Then the 10 kings do something. They follow the dragon, and at some point will eat their flesh. Because I think that's what the 10 kings do, right? Where's the 10 kings in Revelation 17?
Yeah, at the end when they eat flesh, the flesh of the horse. Did
10 kings in
12,
Revelation
12,
12.
something like
I have
that.
them here, yeah. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So there is this
And
period,
16 again.
and in 16 again. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive. So there is this time period of which the Bible calls 1 hour. Well, if you take that literal prophetically, that would be 2 weeks. There's this, if that still counts, then there is this short period of time where the kings rule with the beast. And then after that, they realize they've been duped and they will eat their flesh. And I think that's that's the next dispensation. That's the dispensation of the worldwide Sunday law. So there comes a point in time where we know what it is. But yeah, I would, generally speaking, I would say that's the world. That's the rest of the kings of the world. And you can argue that's the United Nations. You can just say it's the rest of the world. But maybe a big top.
Egypt. What's the difference to Egypt then?
Egypt is not in Revelation 17, so I don't know. Maybe Egypt is a symbol for the same thing, but it's a different parable then. Does that help? Is that?
Yeah. Maybe it's a question that we can ask one of the invited Sunday law speakers.
Yeah, we should
We're
write
asking
down
when
our questions.
Yeah, we would have done that Tuesday, but no one wanted to meet us.
Oh, was that the plan? Yes, next Tuesday we will be there.
What's the night for me?
Yeah. Oh, maar het is nog allemaal zo klein.
Je ziet de rol.
Okay, shall we leave it here perhaps? And then
Yeah.
other yeah, no, I'm fine having, because I also need to get used to having questions. So I'm glad if you ask questions, because I'm going to visit other groups as well, and they will have questions for me.
Yeah.
So if I heard the questions before or we talked about it, then that benefits me as well.
But they will definitely have different questions, Arjan.
Also, but if you have a question, that means other people have the same question.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Good.
Okay, well, let's close this and then we
End
can.
with prayer.
Okay. Dear Lord, we come before you to thank you that we're actually able to have a proper study together. We will be able to concentrate on the subject of the rise and fall of nations. And we've been looking at the historical prophetic kingdoms and the current situation. If we can see any parallels. We've been looking into why the seventh kingdom is actually the United States. What was the proof for that? I think this was a good conversation, and for me, a good reminder of things. There's many questions in the movement, and I'm sure the questions that we have, many other people have as well. And it's good to talk about that and discuss it with each other. Each discussion helps us and develops us in our thinking and our understanding. I pray that you continue to bless us through the day and help us to and bring us back together next Tuesday. Again, we ask that and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.